The Mystara project is proud to present Part 31 of the Law of Mystara series. In this video, we take a look at the period from AC 51 to AC 149. In AC 87, Aidan I, the fourth king of Darokin, and the great-grandson of the realm's founder, Ansel I, succeeded his father to the throne. However, shortly after his coronation, Aidan was killed by raiding orcs in the northeastern borderlands of the Streel Plain. Young Aidan was unmarried with no heir, so the line of Eastwind kings ended with him. Various candidates for the throne were put forth by the united clans. However, their succession disagreements moved their fragile coalition to the brink of civil war. The summer of AC 87 was a bloody period, as the Broken Lands orcs took advantage of the confusion among the southern humans and reclaimed most of the territory west of the Streel River that had been lost to the Eastwind kings. The three strongest candidates for the Darokin throne agreed that the situation was critical, but no one was prepared to withdraw their claim to the throne. By early winter AC 87, the orcs had conquered all the territory west of the Streel, except for the Malfegi Swamp and Athenos. Fearing the orcs would wipe out Darokin, Alfheim overcame their reluctance to deal with humans, as they intervened in the Darokinian succession dilemma. They proposed a compromise candidate, the warrior Corwin Attleson. The Darokinians were offered arms, magic and possibly troops by Alfheim, if they would stop arguing and accept their candidate. Attleson was accepted as king of Darokin, and proved to be a wise choice. He was a strong warrior, a charismatic leader, and a canny politician. He rallied the bickering clans just in time to repulse a major orcish attack on the town of Darokin. The elven troops were never required. This was the start of the reign of the Darokin kings and the Attleson Dynasty. Thousands of orcs fled west into Nagpuri, where they plundered for the next decade. In the decades of King Corwin I's reign following the Battle of Darokin Town, the Darokinians steadily pushed the orcs back toward the Broken Lands. Corwin's success prompted other human clans to pledge allegiance to him. After AC 91, construction of the Great Library of the Flying City of Serain was completed, comprising 14 floors soaring 280 feet above deck level, and 50 foot of basement below deck. In AC 100, the relatively weak Makistan clans fled the rule of the particularly crude and autocratic Muhuli Khan from the Ethengarian steppes into Dengar. Politely, but firmly, the wary dwarfs quickly ushered the Makistani into the fertile and uninhabited Usturt Valley, which they claimed as their own. The valley provided excellent pasturage for the herds of these steppe nomads. In AC 100, King Alavar of Alfheim died. He was buried with the blade of the crystal dagger of Cymorak in his family's tomb in the densest part of the Canolbarth forest. He was succeeded by Celadril of Clan Erendil. Around AC 100, a horde of Yazak humanoids swept through the central Savage Coast region. They drove the Rakastas and Lupins westward, where they clashed with the Harathians. They then reached the coast, wiping out the few small cities of the Tortals, such as Zul. The Los Guardianos humans, elves, and dwarfs of the eastern Savage Coast started building permanent settlements, in response to the humanoid horde. In response to the Rakasta and Lupin incursions, the Harathians created the Gurash, or Gator Men, from magically crossing lizard men and alligators, to serve as tougher warriors than the lizard men. However, the entropic immortal ruler of fiends, Demogorgon, interfered and made the Gurash crude, unreliable and unruly, often attacking allied human troops and trying to eat allied lizardman mercenaries. Attempts to improve the controllability of the savage Gurash commenced. Inspired by Demogorgon, who the Gurash call Goran, a large batch of them escaped Harathian laboratories and inspired an uprising that wrought havoc among Harathian sages, nobles, and guards. Surviving Gurash fled north into the bayou, whilst Herath tried to eradicate the species, which they deemed a dismal failure. In the bayou, the Gurash began hunting Omwaz. Their numbers were not yet great enough to threaten the lizard men. Some Rakasta and Lupins were accepted in Herath, possibly as prisoners. Some learnt magic from the Harathians. They were also exposed to Harathian ideas of law and government. Between AC 100 and AC 150, three prominent Sindhi families rose to power. The Pratikutas of Putnabad, the Rastrapalas of Shahjarkhand, and the Mahavarmans of Nagpuri and Gunjab. It is not certain if they were shape-shifting Chumbahara or not. Throughout the 2nd century AC, successive generations lose and gain power in the almost constant power struggles. Starting around AC 100, Horathian rulers began hiring bounty hunters to eradicate the Gurash from their northern borderlands. This proved a lucrative occupation for decades, until the Gurash population exploded. Then the hunter became the hunted, sometime between AC 120 and AC 190. The Gurash began to clash with the lizard men, who were forced to unite and form settlements to counter the threat. Sometime between AC 100 and AC 800, a 36th-level cleric created the Hammer of Life. The cleric was possibly a follower of the immortal Tor, and possibly created the hammer in the Temple of the Stars in the remote mountainous area of Two Lakes Vale in Norvold. Sometime between AC 100 and AC 800, Abu Iblis was born in the Alasian desert. He became an evil sorcerer, and constructed a palace of limestone in the Alasian desert, which he called the Ivory Palace. Abu Iblis gave his life force to he who must not be named, possibly Thanatos or Fla, via the Book of Souls, and transferred the essence of his magical powers into 2 rings. Enemies of Abu Iblis attacked his ivory palace, slew his guards, caused him to use up most of his magical powers, slew him, cut his left hand off, and took off with his moonstone ring. They then cast many spells over the palace to prevent evil, or greedy creatures, from entering. With his magical powers depleted and his rings separated, Abu Iblis was stuck in limbo under the protection of he who must not be named. Sometime between AC 100 and AC 800, followers of an evil reptilian immortal, possibly Demogorgon, founded a monastery located on top of a place simply known as the Hill, near the ruins of Zitaka, in Traladara. The monks practiced human sacrifice. At its height, the monastery had 8 guards and 80 initiates. Sometime between AC 100 and AC 800, Hule made a second attempt at colonizing Devania. Hulean ships sailed around the Serpent Peninsula, to the grasslands of the Green Coast. With the assistance of the embattled Caracasta Rakasta Parias, they carved out a small coastal territory, founding the settlement of Garganin. However, the far-flung colony failed, and the Huleans withdrew to their homeland. The majority of the Caracasta joined them. The Huleans made use of them in their armies, and granted them mostly conquered infertile scrub and dry woodland areas to inhabit. The Huleans started calling them the Karakulak. Under Hulean guidance, the Karakulaks learnt to manufacture special arrows and composite short bows that granted them quicker initiative, longer ranges, and extra damage when used with their energy bursts. Sometime between AC 100 and AC 800, the Urduk Kabilas, copper-skinned descendants of the Urduks, moved into the Konamtali savanna from the barren plain. Sometime between AC 112 and AC 122, Phalestrala was born in the City of Stars. In AC 122, King Corwin Attleson I of Darokin died of natural causes. He was succeeded by his son, Corwin II, who proved just as capable as his father. Over the next 4 centuries, the Attleson Dynasty presided over Darokin's golden age of peace and prosperity. The last of the Orc tribes was pushed out of Darokin during this period, in AC 293. Tralda clans of the northern Tralda lands, Alasian tribes of western Alasia and Darokinian pioneer clans in the southern highlands, all swore allegiance to the Attlesons at some point during this age. The Streel, Darokin and Arkoros roads were all built in this period, promoting trade. As Darokin's prosperity grew, their reliance on the Alfheim elves waned, as did their relationship. In AC 124, the gold dragon, Marthine, was hatched in the Worm's Teeth range of Norvold. In AC 131, some intrepid human adventurers encountered shadow elves in deep caverns, and were captured, interrogated, and executed by the Pale Elves. The shadow elves learnt from them that the surface world had been inhabited for centuries, and elven nations existed. King Iazel of the Shadow Elves dispatched an expedition to the surface world. The emissaries avoided all humans and made their way through Alfheim. On the 12th of Claremont, they met with King Celadril of Alfheim. Initially, Celadril was open to permitting the Shadow Elves to settle in the Canolbarth, but when he learned their population equaled Alfheim's, he balked. The Shadow Elves, unaccustomed to diplomacy, demanded leadership of Alfheim, more than half the Canolbarth forest, and reparations for their centuries of hardship, abandoned by the surface elves. Celadril and the Council of Clans rejected the Shadow Elf demands. The Shadow Elves threatened war, and returned to the City of Stars. The Shadow Elves began observing this inauspicious day as the rejection. Note that the Poor Wizard's Almanac 2, on page 22, sets this event in AC 330. This concludes part 31 of the Lore of Mystara series, covering the period from AC 51 to AC 149. A period that saw the establishment of the Attleson Dynasty in the Striel Plain region, that commenced the Golden Age of Darokin.